Jesus Christ, I really hate this Karl guy. Surely it's not because you alleged that he'd, like, killed a man to inducing him to suicide. What you've said is defamatory. It's not true. Why the did he even think that this was true in the first place? It's just pure ego. It's just pure ego. Karl is so autistic that he only thinks about people's reputation like a fucking health bar. Oh my god!
Brother.
And Karl, expect me. You won't be aware. Karl Jobst situation, okay? Hundreds of thousands of dollars he's been sued for and lost. Not to mention, it's Australia, baby. That's right. Commonwealth. He also owes all of his opponent's legal fees, okay? But what happened? What happened? And what has led to this disastrous, potentially, you know, unjust legal decision? Let's have a look, okay? So this is a transcript from a video that Karl Jobst made a few years ago now. I think about 2 or 3 years ago. And what's highlighted in yellow there, you will not be able to find anymore. Okay, that part is now gone from the video. So he also sued, referring to Billy Mitchell. Who's Billy Mitchell? We'll explain in a minute, okay? He, Billy Mitchell, also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but the lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and pay him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work. But with his ongoing health issues, this was too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Billy would care, though. In fact, when Billy Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress. Naturally got that like high score on Donkey Kong. That's basically it. Endless, 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 again and again and again. Now, to be fair, he's very litigious. As has been mentioned in there's been a few people who've criticised him and spoken about whether his gameplay is actually legitimate and whether his game scores are actually legitimate, and he's ended up filing lawsuits against them, which would make you think, huh, I better dot my I's, cross my T's, yeah? Just to make sure that everything I'm saying, totally legal, okay? And totally correct. Let's have a look at what happened. And so, you know what? I'm just going to dive straight into it, okay? I'm going to dive straight into it. Let's see what Karl said about Billy Mitchell.
The complaint actually says nothing, not a single word about video games. Nothing. But he has gone online and has led you to believe that it has to do with the allegations.
Okay, this is Billy Mitchell, okay? And here, Billy Mitchell is talking about the lawsuit that he has against him. So, what does Billy Mitchell say about the lawsuit? He says that Karl has said that it's about cheating allegations, and it's got nothing to do with them.
And has led you to believe that it has to do with the allegations. And it doesn't.
I have never spoken about what the lawsuit is actually about. I haven't led anyone to believe anything. I've said that I'm being sued for defamation, but I've never talked about the specifics of the lawsuit, and I won't talk about them until the lawsuit is over. However,
Okay.
I will say that Billy Mitchell being a video game cheater is extremely relevant to the lawsuit. Billy Mitchell being happy about Apollo Legend dying is extremely relevant. Billy Mitchell abusing the legal system is extremely relevant. Billy's problem is that he doesn't understand the legal system, and especially the one in Australia. So his fantasy about what the lawsuit should be about is not rooted in reality and only exists inside his head.
Oh. His fantasy about what the lawsuit should be about.
And especially the one in Australia. So his fantasy about what the lawsuit should be about is not rooted in reality and only exists inside his head.
So, okay, I'm not going to say what the lawsuit is about, okay? But him cheating and being happy about the death of Apollo Legend very, very relevant, okay? Primarily, first thing he lists, his cheating is very, very relevant, and his fantasy about the cheating not even mattering, yeah, he can have that legal fantasy if he wants to. But let's see the rest of it.
Okay, and it's proceeding. But here's what bothers me. You're the guy I pick on. He goes online. He does a video. He'll make, between the money he gets from YouTube, based upon the views, because I'm an extremely high view for him, along with the sponsorship, he'll get about $30,000 for a video.
Holy shit, I wish I made $30,000 per video. He is pulling numbers out of his ass here, and he has absolutely no idea what I make. Trust me, I make a good amount, but it's certainly not that much. I also like how Billy says that he's an extremely high view for me as some kind of boast because he wants to make himself sound important. Sure, people love laughing at Billy because he is a walking circus after all, but I get a lot of views no matter what I talk about. If you look at a snapshot of my channel, I get a lot of views if I talk about random cheaters or if I...
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, there's three... Yeah, so this is to give you a bit of context, okay? Even in the screenshot and the evidence that he shows, he's absolutely obsessed with this Billy guy. There's a video down there about Billy Mitchell.
Look at a snapshot of
that's got 1 million views, okay? And then like a week later, I guess. Oh no, sorry, 3 months later, there's another one about Billy, another one about Billy, another one about Billy, okay? And those have got like 1 million views apiece. His other videos... kind of range. They kind of range. The Billy train is quite consistent, okay? It's quite consistent.
Channel, I get a lot of views if I talk about random cheaters or if I talk about awesome achievements. The irony is that right now, it's me that's making Billy famous. And if I stopped talking about him, no one would care about him ever again. He is a
Okay. This goes into a little bit of another point. That's just not true. That's just not true at all. This guy has got the most... Carl has got the most insane fucking ego about this. He's saying that if he never spoke about Carl again, no one would ever think about him or care about him. No, retard. You're like the main A-logger of this guy. But the only reason why those videos do so well is because people already know about this stuff. People are already talking about it. If you never spoke about him again, people would still speak about Billy Mitchell, okay? So he's got a public profile. And it kind of defangs his argument. It's just pure ego. It's just pure ego. Because he'd go on to argue as well, like, oh my god, this guy, if he never lied about having these video game records, he would never have this fantastic career that he has. Like, talking about being like a pro gamer. It's like, oh, I thought nobody cared about him. It's just completely inconsistent. And the only commonality is Carl's enormous fucking ego.
Great cheater that everyone hates, no one wants him around, and I'm the only thing keeping him relevant.
He'll get about $30,000 for a video. It's possible to get somebody in this room to lie for $30,000. It's not something we should do.
This argument is always funny, but it's even more hilarious when the guy saying it is wearing an American flag tie. As I said at the beginning of the video, Billy acts like he loves American values, but he really doesn't. His claim is that if I make a lot of money, it's not because I'm creating a good product or providing a useful service, it could only be because I'm lying. But isn't the entire American dream based around the idea that working hard and
of lying? Sorry.
Achieving success is a good thing? Billy even tries to give off the image of success himself by wearing a suit. But if his logic were to hold true, if he was successful, which he isn't, that would mean intrinsically that his video game scores are not to be trusted. I mean, he does make money off them, and people who...
Yeah, I mean, this is just like totally... Just anything he's pulling out of his... This is the annoying thing about Karl Jobst, is he will just talk and talk and talk, and he'll say things and make points, 80% of which should be left on the cutting room floor. And it's clear that he's just making this content to A-log, okay? He's made a 25-minute video off of him talking at some nobody gaming conference, all right, about him for like 5 minutes. And just, what? He's like, oh, it's ironic that he's wearing an American flag. Doesn't he care about the American dream and working hard? And, okay. I hate it. Also, I cannot stand when people who aren't Americans try to use, like, American values against Americans as some kind of attack. It's very, very fucking weird. It's like when atheists try and use, like, Christianity against Christians. Like, you don't believe in it yourself, You're just imagining that they do, and then there's just vague hypocrisy that you're kind of like gesturing at. Billy Mitchell is just like essentially demonized. Nobody wants to be seen to defending him. There's no interest in defending him. Everybody hates him. And it's created this milieu where like Karl can make up the most gutter points, and then somehow people are like, yeah, you're right. He is a hypocrite against his American values. He's wearing an American tie, guys. He's wearing an American tie.
It's possible to get somebody in this room to lie for $30,000. It's not something we should do. But then you go on there and you say he's suing me again. He puts up nothing, no proof, anything that he's being sued again. Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint.
Even though I've researched Billy a lot, and I know how much he lies, when he publicly lies about things he and his lawyers have done to me, it still shocks me every time. When it comes to lying, he is absolutely fearless.
So this is an interesting point, okay? This is an interesting point. So Billy says, listen, he's saying there's multiple, like, lawsuits against him. I've only filed one complaint. There is one complaint I filed against him. And he's saying I'm suing him again? Like, what? Karl describes that as a lie. A bold-faced lie about what his lawyers have done to him. Oh, okay, so you have been sued several times. There are several lawsuits going on against you, are there?
Here, he is talking about my video titled, Billy Mitchell has gone insane and I need your help. This is the video where I advertised my GoFundMe to help with legal fees. Billy claims that I said he was suing me again while providing zero proof. But again, if you watch the video, you see instantly that this is a complete fabrication. I mean, I quite literally show the second lawsuit on screen when talking about it. First, Billy sent me this concerns notice in regards to my video that outlined allegations he was trying to extort witnesses. Again, this is a required document to send before you sue someone. This was the third concerns notice he had sent me by this point, by the way. Then he sends me the second lawsuit, which I can show on screen now. I'm not making this up. This is a real thing that was sent to me by Billy's lawyer. This has nothing, which I can show on screen now. I'm not making this up. This is a real thing that was sent to me by Billy's lawyer. This has nothing to do with the first lawsuit. It's a brand new one for a video I uploaded in 2022. And he again was seeking an extra $450,000 in damages. On top of this, his lawyer sent me a letter saying that he had instructions from Billy to file the lawsuit against me if I didn't offer to make amends. Which of course I didn't do because everything I said in the video was true. Naturally, if Billy—
I mean, yeah. So it's not a lie. He hasn't filed a lawsuit against you. He sent you a cease and desist equivalent, right? Just like, hey, we've seen that you've done this. We would ask you to stop. Otherwise, we may sue you. And then they've sent a demands letter and said, listen, if we go to trial, these are all of the things that we're going to like go through, okay? Would you like to reach out to us and see if we can reach a settlement and reach an amicable discussion about this? But has he actually like filed papers with the court to like sue you? Like, a lawsuit.
Billy Mitchell, who sues everyone and is already suing me for something ridiculous, sends me a second lawsuit and has his lawyer—
Oh, so he has sent you a lawsuit. Okay.
Literally tell me they were going to file it against me. I'm going to believe they will file—
Wait, he sends you a lawsuit and says that they intend to file it against— Okay, so that hasn't been filed then. This hasn't been filed.
It against me. Billy is right though. There is only one official complaint against me currently. And you know why that is? It's because Billy was either lying or changed his mind. I guess his legal threats ended up backfiring when I made my video saying he was going to sue me again, and I ended up getting a ton of support. Now he is pissed off because his scare tactic didn't work. At the time I made that—
I mean, okay, this is the thing. It's interesting that he says earlier he's not going to make any claims, even about what the first lawsuit is about. He's going to say, his cheating is very relevant, and the fact that he was happy to hear that Apollo Legend might die, those are both relevant facts. But you're so scared about talking about litigation that you won't even say exactly what the first lawsuit is about? But now you're worried about a second lawsuit. You're fundraising on the basis that you think this will go to trial. And you're saying all of this about the allegations about it? There's some inconsistency here. There's some inconsistency. And to my mind, it's intentional because he doesn't want to talk about what the first lawsuit is about. That's the only thing I can surmise here. He shows the fucking letter where Billy Mitchell lists his complaints, where he lists his intent to sue, what he hopes to get from it, what kind of like measures he would be seeking in court, exactly what he would be taking into court for, the exact video, the exact claims. But for the first lawsuit, you don't even want to talk about the claim made? The specific thing that you're being sued for? Interesting.
video, everything I said was true. It's not my fault Billy ultimately decided to back out. It's a shame too, because he would have lost a ton more money when he ultimately lost.
Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint. So when the attorney sends his attorney a letter and says, your client is fraudulently claiming that we filed a second and third lawsuit against him, you know, that is not right. It's called a letter of concern.
This correspondence between lawyers that he's talking about never happened. And it's so sad that Billy is spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on his lawsuit against me, and he still doesn't even know what the basic documents are called. He was trying to say that he sent me a concerns notice, but he called it a letter of concern. But ignoring the name of the document, he didn't send me a concerns notice. I mean, he has sent me concerns notices before. He sent me one in 2020 for saying that he cheated. He sent me one in 2021 in regards to Apollo Legend. He sent me two in 2022 for reporting on accusations of extortion, and also for including a 10-second meme of him that I didn't even create. But
Okay, so somewhere nested in there is like just a concern about Apollo Legend, you know, just a concern about Apollo Legend. Exactly what? Well, you know, just about Apollo Legend. Very, very slim on the facts when we're talking about this Apollo Legend stuff, aren't we? Very slim on the facts. This Karl guy is ignorant. I don't think he's ignorant. I don't think all the times when he's like obscuring information, not completely given the full picture, it's not because he's obscuring information, okay? This feels very intentional. Is it malicious? We'd have to quibble on what we mean by that. But it's absolutely intentional. This is not negligent.
in regards to my GoFundMe, all his lawyer did was ask me why I was doing a GoFundMe and talking about a second lawsuit. But after my lawyer responded saying that everything I said was a fact, and it was them who were the ones saying they were going to file a...
Didn't this say 5 minutes ago that they didn't have correspondence through lawyers? And then nitpick him on the fact that he got, like, what the name of the fucking letter specifically wrong when he's an American suing you in an Australian court. I think we can give him a fucking bit of a pass. No? Jesus Christ, I really hate this Karl guy.
A second lawsuit against me, I didn't hear from them ever again about it. I guess they realized how utterly ridiculous they look.
He starts a GoFundMe because the bad boy is suing him again. He needs money. And you are so silly, you hear what he says, and you donate money without any knowledge or any background.
I mean, it is true, right? It is true. He raised money on the basis that I'm raising this money, okay, to fund lawsuits that are going to happen. But the lawsuits never happened. Did you return the money, or...?
And the GoFundMe is at $150,000. $30,000 for the video. You give him $180,000 based upon a lie.
Yes, it was based upon a lie that you created, Billy. If you didn't send me a second lawsuit and lie and say that you will file it against me, I wouldn't have said that you were going to file a second lawsuit against me. But regardless, I didn't create the GoFundMe because of the second lawsuit. If you actually watch the video and read the description of the GoFundMe, instead of just taking Billy's word for it, you'll see the main reason I was asking for money was because I ran out of funds for the existing lawsuit. And I said that it was going to cost at least another $100,000 to get through that. And unfortunately, my estimate ended up being way too low, because we still haven't gotten to trial, and it's already cost me another $100,000 since I made that.
Okay, I might need to take the elder. Sued me for defamation, claiming damages in the past year. Almost how minutes to defend. But you're using the second lawsuit to advertise it. Okay. Maybe it's clear. Maybe it's clear exactly what's going on. This bit to me seems obscure, because everything that I've heard is that he launched the fucking GoFundMe to fund for the second lawsuit and potentially a third. So this here does add a disclaimer, right? So I won't say that he lied about this, okay? I won't say he lied about this, but this is something that you need to be way more transparent on. He was way too vague on what Billy was doing.
Cost at least another $100,000 to get through that. And I mean, unfortunately,
this is it, right? Sued me. Okay, yeah. Billy Mitchell, star of King of Kong and proven video game cheater, sued me for defamation. Whoa, defamation? Defamation on what? Oh, well, probably since you've just brought up the fact that he's like, you're talking about video game cheaters here and calling him a video game cheater. Oh, it's probably because you're calling him a video game cheater, right? 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 Where's the fucking image? Where's the fucking image? Right? Surely it's not because you allege that he'd, like, killed a man through inducing him to suicide and asking him for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, a large sum of money, which, by the way, this bit got deleted. That bit was not. And that is worth bearing in mind, okay? He was forced to remove all his videos about Billy's cheating and paid him a large sum of money. Interesting.
Existing lawsuit, and I said that it was going to cost at least another $100,000 to get through that. And unfortunately, my estimate ended up being way too low, because we still haven't gotten to trial, and it's already cost me another $100,000 since I made that video.
And you are so silly, you hear what he says, and you donate money without any knowledge or any background.
Now, to be clear, why does it cost so much before he's even gone to trial? I've heard this, although I haven't seen anything to confirm it, okay? But I've heard this quite a lot. That apparently he had a first group of lawyers, okay, that were dealing with this lawsuit, okay? They went through the case, they started proceedings. Not too far into it, they told him, listen, dude, you need to settle this. We're not taking this to court. We're not taking this to court. You probably need to settle. Like, yeah, this is not going to be a good case for you. So he fired them, and then started all over it with another set of lawyers. He changed law firms to try and find somebody who would take it to trial.
Billy is extremely upset here because he hates the idea of someone having the money to defend themselves in court. If Billy was so sure he was going to win, he wouldn't mind if I was able to put up a good defense, because that's everyone's right. And Billy believes in American values like due process.
Okay. Again, talking about more American values. So what actually happened with Apollo then? What did Billy threaten him over? Was it cheating? No. Okay? No. So as he says there, it's something to do with Apollo legend. Exactly what? Unclear, apparently. But this, okay? So I'm going to set you up, and that's like critiques that we can give ahead of time, okay? I've given like minimal like additional information, okay? Minimal additional information. But now, let's see what the judge said. Because I think for a lot of people, this was probably the first time they realized that what everybody seemed to think about what was going on was not, in fact, the reality of the situation.
The plaintiff, William Mitchell III, commonly known as Billy Mitchell, lives in Florida, United States of America. He has been well known among adherents of video and arcade gaming in many countries, including Australia, since 1982. At an arcade and video gaming competition in November that year that took place in Ottumwa, Iowa, USA, playing an arcade game called Donkey Kong, Mr. Mitchell scored a world record 874,300 points and was the first person ever recorded as reaching the kill screen, that is, reaching the end of the game. At the time, he was 17 years of age. Mr. Mitchell went on...
Okay, Your Honor. We can go through this, okay? Who is Billy Mitchell? Cheating allegations, okay? We can skip to that.
Mr. Mitchell was accused of having cheated in achieving his Donkey Kong world records by allegedly using computer emulation software instead of original arcade hardware. Twin Galaxies investigated the accusation, and in April 2018, it announced that it had concluded that 2 of Mr. Mitchell's world record scores were not produced by the direct feed output of an original, unmodified Donkey Kong arcade printed circuit board, or PCB. It was not able to determine whether the third score was produced on original arcade gaming hardware or with the use of emulation software. As a consequence of its findings, it announced that it had decided to remove all of Mr. Mitchell's scores and to ban him from participating in its competitive leaderboards. The following day, Guinness World Records announced that as a consequence of Twin Galaxies' decision, it too had disqualified Mr. Mitchell as the holder of all his records, both in Donkey Kong and in Pac-Man. Mr. Mitchell commenced proceedings in the United States for defamation against Twin Galaxies and a number of others. One of those lawsuits was against a young man, Benjamin Smith, who was known online as Apollo Legend.
This is a little bit of a setup. I remember him literally being referenced as a cheater in commentary streams. Head thing, so that never actually went to trial, okay? There was reason to believe it, but I don't even care about, like, litigating that issue. It's been hotly contended, okay, for a very, very long time. Twin Galaxies tried to, like, revoke his leaderboard, like, score or whatever. He ended up suing them over it in the United States, and then they ended up settling. But he still remains off. But he sued them for defamation, essentially.
Apollo legend in My Reasons. He published videos on YouTube about gaming, including a number in which he accused Mr. Mitchell of cheating, falsifying his Donkey Kong scores, and not using legitimate gaming hardware. Mr. Mitchell and Apollo Legend settled that proceeding on 22 August 2020. Their agreement relevantly provided that Apollo Legend would remove all of his YouTube videos and social media posts that referred to Mr. Mitchell. He would assign the copyright in those YouTube videos to Mr. Mitchell, and he would permanently cease producing any oral, written, or electronic documents or communications that in any way mentioned or referred to Mr. Mitchell or his family, apart from making an agreed statement in terms provided in the settlement agreement. Any breach by Apollo Legend of the last of these obligations would result in him being liable to Mr. Mitchell for $25,000 for each breach. Unless he committed such a breach, he did not have to pay Mr. Mitchell any money. Apollo...
Okay, so to be clear, that's f***ing insane, okay? That is absolutely, absolutely insane. And I definitely think that it's going to depend on exactly like what's said and how things are framed, and it does seem insane that people are like, what, just talking about this on YouTube, and then they're receiving like a notice that they're going to get sued from somebody who lives in a different country because of what they said, when they arguably, I haven't seen the original Apollo Legend video, but this seems to be like a common opinion that people have. Does he state it too harshly? Maybe. Was he retarded in how he stated it? Maybe. Did he have the funds to go and sue and take it to court? Doesn't seem like it. Could he have fundraised? Perhaps. But he ended up making the decision that, yeah, okay, I'll accept those terms. What was the negotiation? What was all that process? I don't know. Are these common terms, especially in like Australia, where defamation is a little bit easier to go through with? And so if you don't know, okay, let me give you a little bit of like a primer on how it works. How it works in proper systems, okay? Based on British courts. Okay, so for defamation, unlike the United States, it's not, you're assumed to have like, acted in good faith and, like said something that was your own opinion. And then you have to prove that no, this person knowingly lied about me. They knew that it was false. They knew that it was false when they said it, or at the very least, they had no concern for whether it was true or not. Right? They had no concern whether it was true or not. And then if you can prove that, when it comes to damages, you have to prove bomb. There is defamation per se, which can have statutory damages, okay? But usually, if you're talking like impact your career, whether it's like hurt your like mental distress and right, you can have punitive damages, but you have to argue pretty hard for all of those, right? And you have to demonstrate that it's had these individual effects. In British systems, okay, you sue somebody for defamation, it goes to trial, and then you both have to argue why your respective side, right? They have to argue that you've lied and it's not true. You have to argue that what you said is true, and you have to try and demonstrate that to the court, okay? The burden of evidence is kind of equally weighted, and it's who can make the best argument that they're correct. Very, very different, okay? Very, very different. And it doesn't even matter, this might be for punitive damages, okay? But technically, whether you're liable or not liable, it doesn't even matter if you did it maliciously, if you lied intentionally. It's just whether what you said was true or false. Okay? Now, there's some nuances to this, but whatever. Then, if you're found liable, the damages come very, very easily. The damages come very, very easily. You don't have to fight so hard to prove all of these, different, aspects of it. There are a lot of very easy things where it's like statutory damage, right? And so they're already like there, basically. The caveat, okay, and this is quite important. This is quite important because I feel like people don't mention this, okay? The caveat is that in America, obviously, it's very, very easy to sue people. It's very, very fucking easy to sue people. Because if you lose, it's okay, goodbye, see you later. You have to pay your lawyers, but you don't have to give the person you sued anything, okay? In British systems, if you sue somebody and you lose, you have to pay your legal fees, and you have to pay their legal fees for the cost it took to defend themselves, right? And so ultimately, you sue somebody with the expectation that, well, am I going to win? Well, yeah, of course I'm going to win. I'm not going to pay 2 people's legal fees and then get nothing, right? And it also makes it, if you're defending it, it's like, okay, can I make a really strong defense? Yeah, I think I can. I'm going to defend it. I'm going to be able to show this in court easily, and he's going to be able to have to pay my legal fees, okay? So I'm going to be able to get basically whatever lawyers I want to defend myself, okay? And then, boom, right? Now, obviously, that's idealistic to a certain degree, right? In practice, it's like, okay, I think this is true. I think I can prove this to the court. I'm 99% sure. But that 1% thing, I have to pay for my lawyers, his lawyers, and I have to pay the damages. So it can be a little bit, either way. But, so those are the differences between the two systems, okay? Commonwealth British systems are not the same as American, okay? And that's very, very important going forward.
Legend appears to have complied with that agreement. However, on 20 December 2020, he published a video on YouTube, referred to in this proceeding as his goodbye video, in which he told viewers that he was recording his final video. He said, "This is the end of my life," and he explained why. In that video, he did not mention Mr. Mitchell, nor the claim against him or the settlement agreement. Shortly after publishing it, he committed suicide. Defendant Karl Jobst lives in Queensland. He regularly publishes videos on YouTube, mostly about speedrunning, but also about video and arcade gaming world records and people who cheat in those games. He has over 1 million followers on his YouTube channel. On 26 May 2021, he published a video about Mr. Mitchell and another video gamer, Todd Rogers, entitled "The Biggest Conmen in Video Game History Strike Again." He accused Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Rogers of cheating and of pursuing unmeritorious litigation against people who had accused them of cheating. He also said the following about Mr. Mitchell, quote, "He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work, but with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Billy Mitchell would ever care, though. In fact, when Billy Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress." End quote. That video containing that passage was online for 10 days from 26 May 2021 to 4 June 2021, and for an additional 5 days from 9 June to 13 June 2021. In between those dates...
So, this is the thing, right? He publishes it, about like 2 weeks later, thereabouts, week and a half, he then takes it down, and then republishes it?
And since 13 June 2021, the video has remained online, but it contains only the first 2 sentences and the last sentence of the passage that I have just read. While the video was first online in its full version, 2 relevant events occurred. First, on 3 June 2021, Mr. Mitchell published his own YouTube video in response to Mr. Jobst's video. He denied as lies the assertion that Apollo Legend had paid him any money as part of the settlement, or that he had had any involvement with Apollo Legend that had led him to commit suicide. He asserted that Mr. Jobst had effectively accused him of murder. He ended the video by saying, quote, "I plan to respond the way that everybody anticipates for me to respond. And Carl, expect me." End quote.
Dude. That is also... I mean, this is... Okay. Billy Mitchell is a freak. He may have cheated, okay? He may have cheated. And I think it's probably fair to describe him as relatively litigious, okay? Relatively litigious. But that is such a... That's such a sick way to fucking, like, announce that you're going to sue somebody. I'm going to respond exactly the way everyone wants me to respond. And Carl, expect me. Credits roll. Dude, I kind of... As much as I dislike Billy Mitchell, okay, I want to. He is so cool. He is so cool.
The second relevant event is that a mutual acquaintance of Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Jobst, known online as Keemstar, contacted Mr. Jobst at Mr. Mitchell's request and told him that it was not true that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell any money. Mr. Jobst agreed to take down that part of the video while he investigated that issue further. While not taking it all down, he only left up the first and last sentences of the passage that I have read. He then emailed Apollo Legend's brother to ask him whether Apollo Legend had to pay any money to Mr. Mitchell as part of the settlement. Mr. Mitchell's lawyers then served a concerns notice on Mr. Jobst, asserting that he had defamed Mr. Mitchell. In response, Mr. Jobst posted that letter on Twitter, claiming it to be very exciting and that any action would...
One sec.
be an amazing experience.
I mean, this is the thing, right? This is the thing, and people don't take this into account enough. People don't take this into account enough. Because courts do not want to hear complaints when people haven't even tried to resolve this in private, okay? When people haven't even tried to resolve this in private, they're just not going to hear them. It's going to get kicked back. So, when you receive a cease and desist, or when you receive information that what you've said is defamatory, it's not true, okay? We're going to ask you to take down this video, okay? That is your time. You've been put on notice. Either stop saying retarded wrong things, okay? Potentially wrong, mind you. Or accept that it's true, accept that you might have to face litigation for it, and just stand by it. But whatever the case, flippantly just posting the fucking letter to Twitter is insane. Especially when you're like, this isn't like an amateur fucking operation going on, right? I've heard a lot of people fucking saying that. It's like, oh, these big figures are coming after like teeny tiny. I would guarantee that however much Karl is getting paid to make these videos, it's probably more than Billy Mitchell earns, okay? It's probably more than Billy Mitchell earns. He's getting millions of views on these videos. Over 1 million views consistently. There is no way. There's just no excuse for being this amateurish. There's no excuse for being this amateurish. You're essentially taunting him at that point. You've had a private legal communication, which is usually expected to be left, in private, confidential, so you can have a discussion. And then you've posted it to Twitter and said, this'll be great. This'll be fantastic. You f***ing moron. You think they're going to have any more private conversations with you? After that? Probably not.
Then reinstated the original version of the video on his YouTube channel. It was not until 13 June 2021 that Apollo Legend's brother informed Mr. Jobst that Apollo Legend had not paid any money to Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Jobst then altered the video again to remove all except the first two and the last sentences. That version has remained on his YouTube channel since then. The video
Okay, so he's got the first two and the last sentence. He also sued Apollo Legend. I haven't spoken about this publicly. Apollo giving in and settling to Mitchell. So he cut this bit out. He cut some part out about the suicide. And then after he heard from the brother that, no, that's not true. I don't know if you've heard that. That's fucking false. He cut that out as well. I've got no clue. I've tried to figure this out throughout this. I've tried to figure out why the f did he even think that this was true in the first place. Billy reached out to say it wasn't true, who's obviously the other person involved in the litigation. But Karl has got such an ego and thinks that Billy is such a liar that he's just going to lie in a legal document with a lawyer to sign the name to affirm that the facts are true. And he's not going to take it down or go back on it until the guy's brother, the guy who committed suicide, his brother, comes and says, no, my brother never, this legal thing, that legal thing never happened. That's what it takes for you to step down. What information did you have in the first place? It must be pretty strong, surely. I can't see any information. Billy has alleged that it's a single Reddit comment. Karl has vaguely alluded that this isn't true, but he hasn't provided any documentation for why he believes this.
containing all of the offending passage was downloaded in the periods that it was online by over 500,000 people, including over 20,000 in Australia. Since then, over 8,000 comments have been made on the video, including at least 396 that, it may be said, accused Mr. Mitchell of causing Apollo Legend to commit suicide and even called him a murderer, evil, and a scumbag. Similar comments have also been made on videos by other publishers on YouTube or other online media, the most recent that has been brought to my attention having been made in early 2024. In this action, Mr. Mitchell sues Mr. Jobst for defamation, claiming $400,000 in general damages and $50,000 in aggravated damages. Mr. Mitchell contends that the video, particularly the passage that I have read, made 5 defamatory imputations about him. Those imputations were, first, Mr. Mitchell had required Apollo Legend to pay him a large amount of money to settle Mr. Mitchell's defamation claim against him, which caused Apollo Legend to go into considerable debt and to take on extra work to survive. Secondly, a major contributing factor in Apollo Legend's decision to take his own life was Mr. Mitchell's requirement that Apollo Legend pay him a large sum of money to settle the defamation claim. Third, Mr. Mitchell had hounded Apollo Legend to death. Fourth, Mr. Mitchell was the main cause, or alternatively a cause, of Apollo legend taking his own life. And fifth, Mr. Mitchell's conduct was a contributing factor in Apollo legend taking his own life. Mr. Jobst denied that the imputations alleged by Mr. Mitchell were made in the video. I have found that the video made each of those defamatory imputations. Mr. Jobst also defended the claim on a number of other grounds. First, he alleged that Mr. Mitchell had a pre-existing bad reputation that meant that any of the defamatory imputations alleged would not have harmed him.
So to be clear, when he says that Billy is lying, that it was only about the Apollo legend stuff, okay, and that the cheating stuff has nothing to do with it, and Karl said, that's a bold-faced lie, he lies like he breathes, this guy lies all the time, okay, and then says, actually, the cheating is very relevant to the case. The cheating is relevant, the Apollo stuff is relevant, all of this stuff, right? But the first thing he says is the cheating. And the only reason that he seems to say this is because of this. Legal defense that, oh, well, he's already widely known for cheating. So whatever I said about him causing a man to kill himself, that's going to do no extra harm. This is where the cheating comes into it. He's saying that he's got such a bad reputation anyway that I can basically say whatever, which is not true. Legally, it's got no basis. And then even if you think about it, okay, just think about it. Let's just muse, right? We don't have to talk about legality, okay? We don't have to talk about legality. If I know, for example, let's take who? Let's take Bill Clinton, okay? Let's take Bill Clinton. Now, what's he known for? Cheating on his wife, with an intern, nothing else. Nothing else. But he still has a bad reputation, okay? So if I were to say that he drove somebody to suicide, that's a different kind of claim. That's a different way that it hurts your reputation. Karl is so autistic that he only thinks about people's reputation like a fucking health bar. Like, oh, you're at 100 reputation, and then, oh, Billy's gone all the way down to 0 reputation. I can't make him go any... No, you can hurt somebody's reputation in many ways. If they're a cheater, cool. Well, if they're a video game cheater, cool. Then if they cheat on their wife, that's a different kind of thing. If they drive a man to suicide, that's a different kind of thing. If they, I don't know, fucking, like, hire fucking sweatshop workers, or they've got a slave in their fucking basement, these are all completely different kinds of fucking defamatory claim, or different ways that your reputation could be harmed. With, frankly, I'm just going to say, nothing tying them together. Nothing tying them together. If you hear that somebody cheats in a fucking video game, do you think, oh yeah, well, he'd probably hound somebody to suicide, you know? It's just what people who cheat in video games tend to do. Like, no, this is the most nerd fucking shit possible. Like somebody who, like, I don't know, cheats in a game of Magic the Gathering in a tournament is no more likely to drive somebody to suicide. In fact, they're probably less likely because they're like a social shut-in. They're like an autistic freak who doesn't interact with other people, okay? If anything, they're fucking harmless. But this defense, I don't know how he was this confident. He was this confident. This is the argument that he has. It's his primary defense. This is the argument that he has to post the fucking demand letter onto Twitter and say, oh, I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait until Billy Mitchell sues me in court. It's going to be epic.
Reputation, Mr. Jobst alleged, was threefold. First, Mr. Mitchell had cheated to gain recognition as the highest or one of the highest scorers in Donkey Kong. Secondly, he had used litigation processes to coerce others to recognize him as a world record holder in Donkey Kong and to refrain from identifying him as a person who had been found to have cheated at video arcade games. And third, that he would ostracize anyone he considered a threat to his world records in Donkey Kong. As to his alleged pre-existing bad reputation, I have found that Mr. Mitchell did have a reputation as a cheat in Donkey Kong and a reputation for suing people who alleged that he was a cheat. I have found that he did not have a reputation for ostracizing anyone he considered a threat to his achievements. Mr. Jobst's other principal defense was that the video made 5 other defamatory imputations, each of which was substantially true, and as a result of which, the imputations about which Mr. Mitchell complains did not cause any greater harm to him or his reputation. Those imputations, which are referred to in defamation law in Queensland as contextual imputations, were, first, Mr. Mitchell was publicly exposed as having cheated to achieve his record scores in Donkey Kong. Second, Mr. Mitchell was banned from submitting scores to Twin Galaxies for cheating. Third, Mr. Mitchell had planned to create a video that he could use fraudulently as evidence that he had achieved the score of 1,062,800 in Donkey Kong. Fourth, Mr. Mitchell had callously expressed joy at the thought of Apollo Legend's death. And fifth, Mr. Mitchell used litigation to force third parties to recognize his achievements in video gaming. I have found...
Now, to be clear, okay, because that gets a little bit legal jargony, okay? It's a little bit complicated. But basically, what he's saying there is, look, not only does he already have a bad reputation outside of me, okay, I've already hurt his reputation in all of these true ways. So any reputational damage that I've done to him by doing the supposed lie is offset by the fact that I've already hurt his reputation in those ways anyway, right? For example, if I'm speaking about Babka, right, and I'm saying true things, like Babka, you know, whores herself to anybody who, like, DMs her on Discord, right? Babka has, like, a really crippling, like, Adderall addiction. Right, all of these things. I'm hurting her reputation, but in true ways, right? But then if I say, oh yeah, Babka also, I don't know, like has a child, and I've heard that she smacks her child, right? I might be able to argue that, well, slapping somebody's child doesn't do that much reputational harm, and this stuff is maybe more substantive, and so whatever damage that this has done is indistinguishable from the true claims I've already made. You know what I mean?
Found that all of those contextual imputations were made in the video. All but one of them were substantially true. It was not true that he had planned to produce a fraudulent video. To be clear, I was not required to decide, nor did I decide, whether Mr. Mitchell had in fact cheated in gaining any of his world record scores. Mr. Jobst did not attempt to prove that that finding by Twin Galaxies was correct. Notwithstanding these findings...
Oh my god! I completely forgot about this part in the case, because I have heard about this. I saw this clip on Twitter of this part, and I actually laughed out loud, fucking scrolling through, like, on my own offline. So his main basis for the claim was that Billy Mitchell had cheated, and he didn't even try to prove it. He didn't even try to give evidence that he proved it.
Concluded that the defamatory imputations made by Mr. Jobst, that are the subject of Mr. Mitchell's claim, have caused substantial additional damage to Mr. Mitchell's reputation and have caused him considerable additional distress. Therefore, Mr. Jobst is liable to pay damages to Mr. Mitchell for those defamatory imputations. I shall come shortly to the amount of those damages. Mr. Mitchell also asserted that Mr. Jobst's conduct in publishing the video, and after doing so, was unjustifiable and caused additional personal hurt to Mr. Mitchell and harm to his reputation, which justifies...
I mean, this is the thing as well. If somebody has tried to engage in, maybe we might call it litigious, maybe we might call it overbearing, right? But some kind of, like, you know, legal activity with you. They've sent you a cease and desist. They've sent you something. Obviously, nobody likes receiving that. Nobody likes receiving that. It's not supposed to be pleasant. You're not supposed to like it. But if you don't conduct yourself in a reasonable, professional manner, okay, the court is not going to fucking like that. And then the other person can say, listen, he's made me out to be an unhinged freak. He's taken these claims excessively far and tried to besmirch me, essentially for, like, having private legal kind of discourse with him, which the court would obviously require me to do if I wanted to go ahead with this lawsuit. It's like he's defaming me for the fact that I'm even suing him, trying to make a negative implication there, when what I'm suing him for is totally full of fucking proof.
...justifies the court awarding additional damages, known as aggravated damages. This conduct, alleged by Mr. Mitchell, included, first, making the allegations recklessly and without checking their truth. Secondly, publishing the video twice. Thirdly, holding malice and pursuing a vendetta against Mr. Mitchell. Fourthly, mocking Mr. Mitchell's complaint about the video and his legal action. Fifthly, persisting in his contention that Mr. Mitchell's action against Apollo Legend had contributed to his decision to commit suicide. And sixth...
Bear in mind, this is the guy that when he's questioned about exactly what he's going to be sued, okay, after Billy Mitchell stands up on a stage in some back alley, like backwater town, like gaming convention, right? And he says that, no, I've actually only got one complaint about him, and it's because he alleged me of, like, essentially, like, driving him into suicide. Yeah, that's very, very true. And the fact that you then say, listen, I don't want to talk exactly about what's going on in this lawsuit, okay? I don't want to talk about that. But it sounds like you've made other videos elsewhere saying, yeah, he did cause that guy to kill himself. He did cause that guy to kill himself. It's like, dude, You have to have a level of consistency here. You have to have a level of consistency, and so far, so that I can see, okay, he will happily talk about the other allegations that were made in those, like, essentially cease and desists, right? Essentially in those cease and desists, those threats, you could call them, right? He will happily talk about those, despite apparently thinking there's a good basis to believe those will go to court, okay? But in that video, he's not talking about exactly why he is being sued in the first lawsuit for fear of hurting his defense. I don't think so. I don't think so. In my mind, he's very clearly just using that as a way to not have to talk about it. He's throwing that up as a smokescreen.
Sixthly, failing to apologise and to withdraw the allegation. I have found that Mr. Jobst was reckless in making the allegations. His assertions were based on a fallacy, namely that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. That was simply wrong, and he had no reasonable basis for asserting it. Yet even after finding out the truth, he has continued to assert that the settlement had a negative financial impact on Apollo Legend, and that he still believes that the settlement was a contributing factor to his decision to commit suicide. Mr. Jobst was also reckless and vindictive in publishing the full video twice. At the time he republished it, he had been told by Mr. Mitchell, via his response video, by their mutual acquaintance Keemstar, and by Mr. Mitchell's lawyers, that what he had said about the payment was not true. He told Keemstar that he would not republish that part of the video unless he received concrete evidence that it was true. But by the time he republished it, he had not heard from Apollo Legend's brother, whom he had asked for information about the settlement, so he did not know any more than he had earlier, but he nevertheless decided to republish the entire video regardless. In his evidence, he said that he did this because he thought Mr. Mitchell would sue him anyway. His attitude appears to have been, well, if I'm going to be sued, I may as well go for broke and damn the consequences. It was reckless and showed an absolute disregard for the truth of his video on Mr. Mitchell and his reputation. On 29 July 2021, that is about 6 weeks after he finally edited the video and took out the offending passage, Mr. Jobst published a video in which he retracted his statement that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell money, and he apologised to his viewers for having given them incorrect information. At the trial, he relied on that video as being evidence of his bona fides and as reducing any harm caused to Mr. Mitchell by his original video. However, that video did not retract the imputations at all. It simply retracted the statement that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. Mr. Jobst did not apologise to Mr. Mitchell in any way, rather apologising to his viewers for having made an incorrect statement in the offending video. Also,
oh God! Now again, I mean, this sounds like a very small nitpick. This sounds like a very small nitpick. Ultimately, it's like if you committed a crime against somebody, right? Because defamation isn't a crime; it's not a criminal matter, but it's a civil offence, right? It's a civil matter, but you can be held liable about it. The state can force you to pay money, blah, blah, all this stuff, right? It is wrong to do legally. It's legally wrong to do. It's illegal. Even if it's not criminal. But it's like committing a crime against somebody and then apologising to the people who had to hear the crime, who had to see the crime. Like, no, dude. You've lied about somebody. You just want to apologise to your viewers for seeing it. Oh, okay. Well, it seems like you don't actually care if this is true then. You're not sorry to Billy that you actually lied about him. Oh, okay. Cool. Seems like you're doing this somewhat maliciously.
this retraction video was, in total, a little over 30 minutes long. For the first 28 minutes and 24 seconds, it had nothing to do with arcade gaming, cheating, or Mr. Mitchell. It was about a particular type of speedrunning. It then went blank for a few seconds before it returned with Mr. Jobs' alleged retraction statement, which itself lasted only about 45 seconds.
No!
He wrongly said that Mr. Mitchell had not tried to contact him to clear up the error, and he insinuated that he still believed Mr. Mitchell was responsible for Apollo Legend's decision. Finally,
I don't know how anybody at all is carrying water for Karl over this. This is insane. You lie about there having been, like, correspondence legally, right, in private. You lie about that, which is a big fucking no-no, okay? And then you reaffirm that you still believe the claim is true. You reaffirm the truth of the claim, but you apologise exactly for what? Your viewers for, what, saying one or two things so concretely? But the main meat of the allegation, you still stand by. And then you hide it at the end of an unrelated video. It's not a retraction. That's not a statement which is like, you know, that you issue to the public and say, okay, here's my retraction. This is the purpose of this. I'm giving a retraction. You essentially say it offhand at the end of a fucking video. Insane.
Mr. Jobs' conduct of this litigation, together with his additional online comments about it, were aggravating features of his conduct. He seems to see himself in defending his claim as a crusader against Mr. Mitchell. He is the last of the defendants who have been sued by Mr. Mitchell, and the only one, apart from Mr. Race, who has not backed down. Even in February 2024, as this action was progressing toward trial, he said in an online interview, quote, "Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. These people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson. So I am now the last chance. I am the last chance the public has to punish Billy. And also, the last person on YouTube you want to lose to is me. You know there's going to be 100 vids rubbing it in. I will never let Billy forget this, assuming I win. I've got to win first, but man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner." End quote. Mr. Jobst clearly intended to be the knight who slew the Mitchell dragon. Unfortunately for him, his lance was not as strong as he believed it to be, and it has broken in the contest. I have found...
Oh my god, this is why I love fucking like following legal cases as well. I love it. I love fucking lawyers like judges like final statements, because they can essentially, obviously they have to give like verdicts and stuff, but they can give whatever they fucking want. They can say their entire opinion or things that pertain to what they will eventually rule on, and like sentences and damages and such, and whether, you know, the nature of the action. But they can essentially use all the language they want, and they're smart people, and they're like witty, and he's like had time to draft this. I fucking love it. Judges should like, I don't know. There should be something. They've got the robes, obviously. That looks cool. I like that, you know. But I mean, like, if he was in Britain, he'd be wearing a wig, and that would just add to the pomp and circumstance of it, you know. Dude. I love judges' statements at the end of cases. This is always my favourite part of following a case.
Found that all of this conduct has caused Mr. Mitchell additional personal harm and additional harm to his reputation. It was severely aggravating conduct that merits an award of aggravated damages. Again, I will come shortly to the amount of aggravated damages that I will award. I was asked by each party to make adverse findings about the truthfulness of the other party's witnesses and the reliability or otherwise of their evidence. In my full reasons, I have given detailed consideration to those submissions. I don't propose to reprise that discussion and my conclusions now. Having made these findings, I consider that Mr. Mitchell is entitled to an award of damages against Mr. Jobst. I have considered other comparative cases in order to help me decide the appropriate amount. Under the Defamation Act of Queensland, the maximum amount of damages for non-economic loss, that is, general damages, not including any aggravated damages, is currently $478,500. That amount can only be awarded in the most serious case. In addition, though, in appropriate cases, additional aggravated damages can be awarded, and there is no statutory limit on aggravated damages. Mr. Jobst contended that for a number of reasons, any damages I award should be minimal, or at least reduced, due to two mitigating factors. One of those factors was that he published the so-called retraction video. For the reasons I've already mentioned about that video, I do not consider that it had any mitigatory effect. Rather...
People believe that the law works like a fucking computer. And it's like, well, technically, you know, I did meet that provision, you know? I did do that action. It's like, yeah, did you really do it though? Did you do it meaningfully? Or are you just trying to like bypass the court and just say, well, technically, you can't technically a fucking judge during a fucking, like, essentially what is punitive damages. Oh my God.
Publishing the retraction at the time and in the manner he did was an aggravating feature of his conduct. He did not publish it in a way that would draw it to the attention of the original audience, but instead essentially hid it from view. And of course, he did not retract any of the imputations against Mr. Mitchell, nor apologise to him. The second reason he gave for mitigation of damages was that Mr. Mitchell, he said, has contributed substantially to the harm he has suffered because he put the offending part of Mr. Jobs' video into his response video, saying, quote, "For those of you who haven't seen it, here's the clip," end quote.
Do you understand now why allegedly the first set of lawyers that he employed to defend him during this case just said, mate, you should settle. You've got to fucking settle. This is not good. It's not looking good, dude. Please take the settlement. Carl, settle now.
Mr. Mitchell's video showing that clip has remained online ever since. It has been downloaded at least 155,000 times. As I say in my reasons, this submission might be described as suggesting that Mr. Mitchell called in an airstrike on his own position. I disagree. Both by making the response video and by bringing this proceeding against Mr. Jobst, far from calling in an airstrike on his own position, was necessary for Mr. Mitchell and reasonable for Mr. Mitchell to identify the enemy's position clearly in order to call in an airstrike on it. That is what...
Dude, this judge, I love this judge, actually. I really, really like him.
I guess you could say that he was argued that he called an airstrike on his own position. In fact, he was calling an airstrike on Karl's position, and he raped him anally. Yeah.
What he has done. He made clear in his response video that he denied the imputations made by Mr. Jobst, and that what Mr. Jobst had said was false. His conduct in publishing this video was reasonable, and it does not justify any reduction in the amount of damages. Factors particularly relevant in determining the appropriate amount of damages include the number and seriousness of the defamatory imputations, the extent of their publication, the effects they have had on the plaintiff personally and on his reputation, and what is known as the grapevine effect. The grapevine effect is the likelihood that the defamatory imputations have been and will be repeated to other people over time, and they may even surface again after this judgment. The grapevine effect arises particularly in cases of defamatory imputations made on social media or other internet sites, including YouTube. In this case, there is ample evidence of the extent of the grapevine effect. It has been very extensive. The evidence is the number of comments on Mr. Jobst's video, and also comments made on another online personality's videos about Mr. Mitchell, which even recently included assertions that Mr. Mitchell had caused or contributed to Apollo Legend's suicide. Coming to the amount of damages that I will award, Mr. Mitchell seeks $400,000 in general damages, that is, damages for non-economic loss, as it is described in the Defamation Act. In my view, that is too high, being too close to the maximum permissible amount. This is not one of the most serious cases, although it is at the higher end, especially given the most damaging imputation that Mr. Mitchell hounded Apollo Legend to death and the extent of publication. Mr. Mitchell's aggravating conduct has been serious and ongoing, including in his evidence at trial and in his publications about this litigation. It merits substantial aggravated damages, and Mr. Mitchell asked for $50,000 in aggravated damages. I have concluded that there should be judgment for Mr. Mitchell in the sum of $300,000 for non-economic loss and $50,000 in aggravated damages. As I say in my reasons, he may well have been justified in being ordered to pay more than $50,000 in aggravated damages, but that is the amount sought by Mr. Mitchell, and that is the amount I shall award. In addition, Mr. Jobst should pay interest on those amounts. Unless I receive submissions for some other order as to interest, it seems to me, from other cases, that the appropriate rate and period of interest will be 3% per annum from the first date of publication to today. That amounts to a total of $40,446.58. Finally, ordinarily an unsuccessful party is ordered to pay this.
I find that weird, to be fair, and that might actually be where Karl's kind of got off quite easy, right? It might be where Karl's actually got off quite easy, because the inflation that we've had over the last 3 years is not 3%, right? So if anything, he's been biding his time, riding that COVID post-COVID inflation. Been riding out what has it been a year-on-year average of 6%? Dude, he slandered this guy at the perfect time. Oh my god.
The successful party's costs of the proceeding. At present, I see no reason why I should not make such an order against Mr. Jobst. However, I shall give the parties an opportunity to seek an alternative costs order, either now or by written submissions to be provided within 14 days, but preferably now. The judgment of the court is therefore 1. Judgment for the plaintiff for damages for non-economic loss in the sum of $300,000 plus interest, subject to either party seeking a different order as to interest upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days, of $34,668.50. Judgment also for aggravated damages in the sum of $50,000, plus interest of $5,778.08, subject to either party seeking a different order as to interest upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days. 2. Unless either party seeks a different order as to costs, either upon delivery of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days, the defendant pay the plaintiff's cost of this proceeding. I published my reasons together with a short summary of those reasons. Both documents will be publicly available shortly on the...
Nice. And so, yeah, he's just talking about some of the specifics there, okay? He's just kind of chit-chatting about some of the specifics. Dude. Seems pretty good. So what has Karl's reaction been to all this now? I wonder. A little bit of humble pie, maybe. Taking the L? Maybe? Well, he's here talking about appeals. I believe this is in his Discord. So, how much time do you reckon the appeals will take? I feel like if you win an appeal, that'll settle the internet mob.
The entire appeals process would take a year. I don't think the mob is upset with the judge's decision per se, just their recollection of events, which I can forget, which I can correct.
No, no, you don't think the mob is upset with the judge's decision per se? Just their recollection of events. Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah. I think the mob is, when you think about it realistically, they're probably just upset. They're probably just upset with their own false memories. That's right. That's right. The entire mob have just got a false memory, a false recollection of what's gone on.
Bro, people are upset with both. It bothers people that Billy got the money in a win period, and it bothers people you didn't tell them it was about Apollo consistently, which I get. You couldn't do anyways. It creates legal problems.
Totally not true. Totally not true. Totally not true. He said a lot about what he thought would result in a lawsuit, okay? He spoke about matters that he thought would result in a lawsuit. In fact, he was so confident they'd result in a lawsuit, he fundraised on that basis. But he didn't speak very much about the original one, which is very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So, let's take a look. What did Karl say? Okay. So this is the day after, or on the day of, sorry. After he tweeted out, is it still live? The court has decided to stream my decision live on YouTube. So you can watch me win or lose in real time. Win or lose tomorrow, I'm proud that I never backed down and never allowed a bully to control my free expression. Okay, mate. Dude, he tweeted out his own verdict. He tweeted out the live stream to his own verdict. Here we are. Here we are. And then, disastrously. Oh, I lost. The judge found Billy to be a credible witness and believed his entire testimony. The judge's statements are a matter of public record. Is that what he said? What, the judge has been hoodwinked? Now, he's not saying that, to be clear, okay? He's not saying that. That is absolutely the implication of the statement, though. You basically besmirched Billy as a, liar at every turn, like a pathological liar. He just lies constantly. He just invents things to say, but they've got no relation to the truth ever. Okay? So the judge was essentially fooled by Billy, is what this means, okay? I will stand by that 10 toes down. From that point on, unfortunately, there was really nothing that could have saved me. It is now, I will now obviously consider my options. Consider my options. Option 1, sell the house. Option 2, pay him back in sexual favors. Option 3, go the Apollo legend route. No, fuck. Okay, that's a joke. I know many of you will be upset with this. I'm sorry for that. Thank you again to all the support I've received, and will endeavour to work as hard as I can to repay all you that are owed. Are you actually going to pay them back in real money, though? Or, Okay, so next cope tweet. There are a lot of lies being spread that I falsely claim Billy sued me because I said he cheated. I never claimed this. I only claimed it was relevant as part of my defense. In this video, I fully allow Billy to explain why he was suing me. And then I believe, yep, this is the video we watched earlier.
Any knowledge or any background.
Billy is extremely upset here because he hates the idea of someone having the money to defend themselves in court. If Billy was so sure he was going to win, he wouldn't mind if I was able to put up a good defense, because that's everyone's right. And Billy believes in American values like due process, right? Why is...
Okay, now to be clear, the URL that he linked was just to the video, okay? To the video. The timestamp that I've kind of gone to is just because I'd watched it before. But no, we watched earlier. Did he really let Billy explain exactly the reasons? Or did he call him a liar? And just said, I'm not gonna go into it, okay? I'm not gonna go into it. I'm in litigation, I'm not gonna go into it. Yeah. Furthermore, I never asked for money when Billy originally sued me. True. It was only after he sent me a second lawsuit. Sent you a lawsuit. Oh, right, so we never filed it. And yeah, okay, cool. And threat of a third lawsuit, which were completely unrelated, that I needed to crowdfund. Okay, they're completely unrelated. So why do you talk about the first lawsuit in there? It's contradictory. His entire position, he's fucking floundering, dude. Okay. So my total legal costs were well over 60,000 Australian dollars. So any money I received went to my lawyers. Wait, I thought the fundraiser wasn't over the first lawsuit. I thought the fundraiser was, what, about the second lawsuit and the third lawsuit that you needed to crowdfund. But those never went to court, so where have all these legal costs come from? Oh, right, yeah. So you did a legal fund after he sent you, quote unquote, a second lawsuit, and then said that he intended to file another, potentially. You raised money on that basis, and then just used those funds to fund your first offense. Okay. But the criticism that I should have been more transparent is valid, and I'm sorry. Truthfully, I didn't want to repeat or mention any claims regarding Apollo Legend, because it may have jeopardized my defense. I never intentionally lied regarding the Apollo Legend as well. I relied on incorrect information from multiple sources. Exactly what sources, though, so far as I can tell, never saw. We've never learnt about that. I retracted my statement once I confirmed it was inaccurate, but apparently it was not sufficient. Yeah. Apparently it was not sufficient. Yeah, so says the judge, retard. At some point, I will provide a video discussing everything, but I still believe the decision today was not the correct one. Okay. So he made a video, and then has taken it down. He's taken down his last video talking about it, and then he says, I'll be releasing a video next weekend outlining everything in detail. Thanks for anyone who has patience until then. I'm not better for any negative comments or videos about me until then. I've been very critical of people in the past. It would be extremely hypocritical of me to feel like I should be treated any differently. I dish it out, I should be able to take it back. I'm confident I'll be able to ease a lot of concern and perhaps some incorrect narratives with my response. I hope you watch it. Okay, so far what's happened there? Well, he hasn't taken the L. Presumably he's talking about going into appeals, okay? He's looking to go ahead and appeal it, and he is absolutely not backing down. And he is absolutely not retracting his statements. He's pressing forward. So, completely, I think there's been no transparency. Very little transparency with how he's fundraised for this. And I think it's completely, yeah. In my mind, completely disagrees credibility. And maybe has helped shed a little bit of light on his prior coverage. And hopefully, yeah, made people realize just, frankly, how unserious he is. But that's just me. But that's my take, anyway. Yeah. Fuck. I'm excited to see his video when that comes out. I am very, very excited to see his video when that comes out.